So, this is part two, feeding with care. Let's pick up where we left. To help work around some of the difficulties our residents are having with chewing or swallowing, we can mechanically alter the texture of their diet so that it is easier to chew or safer to swallow. A resident's diet sheet or the survey sheet will indicate if they need a mechanically altered diet. These modifications are based on ITSE. So, what is ITSE? The International Dysphagia Diet Standardization Initiative, or ITSE, is a global standard with terminology and definitions to describe texture modified foods and thickened liquids used for individuals with dysphagia of all ages, in all care setting, and for all cultures. The ITSE framework consists of a continuum of 8 levels, 0 to 7. Levels are identified by text labels, numbers, and color codes to improve safety and identification. The standardized descriptors and testing methods will allow for consistent production and easy testing of thickened liquids and texture modified foods. So let's start from the top. Level 7, regular food may be used if the resident does not have problems with chewing or swallowing that would increase the risk of choking. You basically serve food as normal without restriction on the size of the pieces or the texture of the food. So, what exactly is level 7 food texture? Well, level 7 represents regular food, those everyday meals we are all familiar with, featuring various textures that are developmentally and age appropriate. At this level, individuals need to have the ability to bite off pieces of food, showcasing adequate chewing ability for both hard and soft texture. Importantly, they should be able to chew through all types of food without tiring easily. Level 7 may also include mixed consistency foods such as cereal with milk or soup with vegetable pieces, adding a bit of variety to the meal. And of course, sandwiches fall under this category too, typical, satisfying, and they're usually enjoyed by a lot of our residents. So, regular food comes as it is. It hasn't had its texture change in any way. Um, you may have seen cut up in this category. Regular food can be cut into smaller pieces by hand for the resident. So the whoever is responsible for feeding them, they can do that for the resident. This is usually done because the resident doesn't remember or doesn't have the dexterity to cut up their own food. Level 7 has a subcategory, easy to chew. For residents who have trouble chewing hard, crunchy, or tough foods, this still is a regular food, but foods that are not soft and moist are avoided. Regular, easy to chew food may be used if the resident has strong enough chewing ability to break down soft or tender foods into pieces without help. They have no increased risk of choking and do not have swallowing problems at this level. This texture may be right for them if they have weaker chewing muscles for hard or firm textures, but can chew soft and tender foods without tiring easily. It may also be a good choice if they have been sick and are recovering their strength. So, one important thing here is who should not have this texture levels. This level is not intended for people where there is an identified increased risk of choking, People who are unsafe to eat without supervision are not considered suitable for this texture level. People can be unsafe to eat without supervision because of chewing and swallowing problems and or unsafe mealtime behaviors. And examples of those behaviors can be like not chewing very much, putting too much food into the mouth, eating too fast, or swallowing large mouthful of food. Uh, where mealtime supervision is needed, this level should only be used under strict recommendations and written guidance of a qualified health professional. So you basically serve food as normal. If you notice the food pieces are not being chewed well enough, please contact your dietitian to make sure you are on the correct food texture for that resident. So let's dive into level 7, regular, easy to chew foods. At this level, we're talking about normal everyday foods with a soft and tender texture, making them easier to chew and swallow. They can use any method to eat these foods, fingers, fork, spoon, even chopsticks. There's no restriction on the size of food in this level, so you may encounter a range of sizes, smaller and larger than the uh, uh, 1.5 by 1.5 centimeters. However, it's important to know that what foods to avoid at this level: hard, tough, chewy, fibrous, stringy, or foods with pips and seeds, bones, or crystals should be omitted. And instead, residents should be able to bite off pieces of soft and tender foods and choose bite sizes that are safe to chew and swallow. Residents should possess the ability to chew pieces of soft and tender foods without tiring easily. Their tongue should be able to manipulate food for chewing and apply pressure until the food is soft and moist enough to be easily swallowed. And residents should be capable of removing bone, crystals, or other hard pieces that cannot be safely swallowed without assistance or direction from others. And of course, you are there, care for them, make sure that to remove those. It's also worth noting that level 7 soft may include mix thin and thick textures, food and liquids together, but it's essential to consult with your dietitian for guidance on this aspect. So, how do you know that this the food is this level? So, Etsy has a way to test for it. Foods should be able to be cut or broken apart with the side of a fork or spoon, so they're that soft. It is then safest to test regular, easy to chew food using a Etsy fork pressure test to make sure the food is soft enough. Press down on the fork until the thumbnail blanches to white. Then lift the fork to see that food is completely squashed and does not regain its shape. Soft and bite sized foods must pass the softness test. So, some examples for this group: meat cooked until tender. If the kitchen in your facility cannot serve food soft and tender meat, then you have to serve them as minced and moist. Fish is a good option, cooked soft enough to break apart easily with the side of a fork or spoon. Fruits that are soft enough to break apart into smaller pieces with the side of the fork or spoon. Make sure to drain any excess liquid and do not use fibrous part of fruit, for example, the white parts of an orange. Be careful when eating fruit with a high water content where the juice separates from the solids in the mouth during chewing, for example, fruits like watermelon or other melons. Vegetables are steamed or boiled until tender. Be careful because stir fried vegetables may be too firm for this level. Of course, you can prepare them in a way that it is soft. Cereal is served with texture softened. Drain excess liquid before serving. Uh, Regarding rice, rice does not have any special cooking requirements at this level. Check with your dietitian about bread and sandwiches appropriate. So Then examples of food not to serve, and we dig deeper into this part. No salads, no raw vegetables, no dry foods like crackers, digestive biscuits, and the ones that are allowed, as we mentioned, able to cut with a fork, and that they are squished with a fork. They should create peaks, and it should not spring back into its original shape. So this table gives a more comprehensive list of food characteristics to avoid, and examples of foods to avoid. So basically, for safety reasons, you avoid these food textures that pose a choking risk for residents who need level 7 regular, easy to chew. Hard or dry, tough or fibrous, chewy, crispy, spiky, pips and seeds, gristle and bones, and all the things that we basically discussed and talked about. Feel free to take a screenshot of this table, and of course, you can find it on the Etsy website, this list as well. Next level is level 6, soft and bite sized. These are foods that may be used if residents are not able to bite off pieces of food safely, but are able to chew bite sized pieces down into little pieces that are safe to swallow. Soft foods, soft and bite sized foods need a moderate amount of chewing for the tongue to collect the food into a ball and bring it to the back of the mouth for swallowing. The pieces are bite sized to reduce choking risk. If you notice the food pieces are not being chewed well, please contact your dietitian at your center to make sure the residents are on the correct food texture to reduce choking risk. Soft and bite sized foods are eaten using a fork or spoon, and if they want, of course, chopsticks if they have the ability to use. So let's explore level 6. At this level, we are looking at foods that are soft, tender, and moist, but without any thin liquid leaking or dripping from the food. Unlike level 7, residents at this level do not need to have the ability to bite off a piece of food. However, they should be able to chew bite sized pieces safely for swallowing. The bite sized pieces should not exceed 1.5 by 1.5 centimeters or half an inch by half an inch in size. You will hear these numbers from me over and over in this presentation, and they are very important. If you remember from the video, the size of the particles are important when there is dysphagia or difficulty in swallowing. So this size basically makes sure they are manageable for residents to chew and swallow comfortably. These foods can be mashed or broken down with pressure from a fork, eliminating the need for a knife or to cut them. So, in summary, level 6 offers a soft and easily manageable texture, making them suitable for individuals who may have difficulty with biting but can still chew and swallow bite sized pieces effectively. So, how do we test for this level? It is safest to test soft and bite-sized foods using the ITSE fork pressure test. For the residents, the lump size is no bigger than 1.5 by 1.5 centimeters or half an inch by half an inch, which is about the width of a standard dinner fork. To make sure the food is soft enough, press down on the fork until the thumbnail blanches to white. Then lift the fork to see that food is completely squashed and does not regain its shape. Soft and bite sized foods must pass both size and softness tests. So, size and softness, remember that. And here are some examples. Meat, cooked, tender, and chopped pieces. The pieces should not be bigger than 1.5 by 1.5 centimeters. Excuse me. And if you cannot serve the meat soft and tender, and within that size, you can do minced and moist. Fish cooked soft enough to break and serve in pieces no bigger than 1.5 by 1.5. Fruit soft and chopped into pieces, again, no bigger than the size for this level, 1.5 by 1.5 centimeters. Drain excess liquid. We talked about fruits like melon and watermelon, and where they have um, the juice can separate from solids in the mouth, so pay attention to that. Excuse me. Vegetables steamed or boiled with final cooked size no bigger than 1.5 by 1.5 centimeters. Stir fried vegetables are probably too firm and are not suitable at this level. And cereal served with pieces no bigger than 1.5 by 1.5 centimeters with their texture fully softened. Make sure to drain excess liquid before serving. No regular dry bread due to high choking risk. And we will talk about bread in more details. You always need to talk to your dietitian if bread is safe for a specific resident. Rice here requires a sauce to moisten it and hold it together. Pay attention that rice should not be sticky or gluey and should not separate into individual grains when cooked and served. Uh, may It may require a thick, smooth, non-pouring sauce to moisten and hold the rice together. So similar to the previous level that we discussed, for safety reasons, you're going to avoid these food textures that pose a choking risk for residents who need level 6 soft and bite-sized. And you will find this comprehensive list in the ITSE resources as well. So anything mixed thin and thick textures, hard or dry foods, tough or fibrous food, chewy, crispy, crunchy, sharp or spiky, crumbly bits, pips and seed, and foods like beans and rhubarb. And the list continues. It's of course a longer list because we have had more modifications of that. Foods with skins or outer shells on, foods with husks, bones or bristles, round, long shaped foods like sausages or grapes, sticky or gummy foods. These are very important. So peanut butter, nut butter, all of those. Floppy foods. A lot of times we take out the lettuce, baby spinach leaves out of their salad or sandwiches. Uh, Crust form. So crust or skin that forms on foods during cooking or after heating, like with our cheese toppings or mashed potatoes. You have to pay extra attention to those. Juicy foods, where the juice separates. We talked about watermelon. Hard lumps of food like casserole pieces, large and then 1.5 by 1.5 centimeters. If it is smaller than that, it is soft, and they can enjoy it. Next on our list is level 5, or minced and moist. Level 5 minced and moist foods may be used if the resident is not able to bite off pieces of food safely but have some basic chewing ability. Some people may be able to bite off a large piece of food but are not able to chew it down into little pieces that are safe to swallow. Minced and moist foods only need a small amount of chewing and for the tongue to collect the food. Think about the video that you watched into a bowl and bring it to the back of the mouth for swallowing. It's important that minced and moist foods are not too sticky because this can cause the food to stick to the cheeks, teeth, roof of the mouth, or in the throat. These foods are eaten using a spoon or a fork. So let's look at this level. At this level, we are dealing with foods that are soft and moist, yet without any liquid leaking or dripping from them. Residents at this level do not require the ability to bite into the food as minimal chewing is required. The food is typically minced into lumps of 4 millimeter in size, which can be easily mashed with the tongue. Additionally, these lumps can be easily mashed with just a little pressure from a fork, ensuring they are manageable for residents. One notable aspect is that residents should be able to scoop food onto a fork without any liquid dripping or crumbles falling off the fork, maintaining ease of consumption for them and minimizing potential discomfort. So, in summary, level 5 foods provide a minced and moist. It is very important that it is moist texture, requiring minimal chewing and allowing residents to comfortably consume their meals without the need for biting. How do we test for it? Etsy is helping us a lot. So we're using the Etsy fork drip test and the Etsy spoon tilt test. Itsy fork test for adults, the lump size is 4 millimeters, quite small, which is about the gap between the prongs of a standard dinner fork. Itsy spoon tilt test sample holds its shape on the spoon and falls off fairly easily if the spoon is tilted or lightly flicked. Sample should not be firm or sticky. And so minced and moist foods must pass both tests. Here are some examples. Meat served finely minced or chopped to 4 millimeter lump size, served in a thick, smooth, non pouring sauce or gravy. Fish served finely mashed or chopped to 4 millimeter lump size, served in a thick, smooth, non pouring sauce or gravy. Fruit served finely mashed or use a blender to finely chop it into 4 millimeter lump size pieces. You need to drain the excess liquid here. Vegetables cooked, finely mashed, or finely chopped into 4 millimeter lump size or smaller. Again, drain excess liquid. Cereal served thick with small, soft 4 millimeter lumps. It's pretty small. Any milk fluid should not separate from the cereal at this level. Drain any excess liquid before serving it. Rice requires a sauce to moisten it and hold it together, should not be sticky or gluey, and should not separate into individual grains when cooked or served. And it may require a thick, smooth, non pouring sauce to moisten and hold the rice together. And again, for safety reasons, we are going to avoid these food textures that pose a choking risk. Our tables are getting bigger and the lists are getting longer. So basically, what we're not allowed in the previous level, and the size matters here as well. So feel free to take a screenshot of this or look at Etsy guidelines for a comprehensive list of these foods.
We know that bread provides much needed nutrition and is something that people the world over enjoy eating. Although we think of bread as soft, it takes a lot of chewing actions, tongue and jaw movement to break it down and make it safe to swallow. Sadly, coroner's reports show that bread and sandwiches are some of the most common, high-risk foods that people choke on. This video shows how quickly and easily a piece of food can become lodged in a person's airway and cause them to choke. So how do we make sandwiches safe for people with chewing and swallowing problems? With some modifications to the bread and careful choice of filling, sandwiches can be back on the menu. Here are the steps to preparing a minced and moist Itsy Level 5 sandwich. First, remove the crusts from the bread. Use a food processor to finely chop the bread into tiny pieces that are 4 millimeters in size or less. Please note, store-bought dried breadcrumbs are not suitable to use because they are too hard and dry. For a single sandwich, use a square mold to shape the sandwich. Sprinkle the equivalent of 1 slice of finely chopped breadcrumbs within the square mould. Spray the finely chopped breadcrumbs with water or flavour-compatible liquid like milk or stock until moist. Scoop 1 serving of minced and moist sandwich filling onto the moistened finely chopped breadcrumbs. This example shows egg that has been finely mashed with mayonnaise to make it moist. Spread the filling evenly over moistened finely chopped breadcrumbs. Next, sprinkle the equivalent of 1 slice of finely chopped up breadcrumbs on top of the minced and moist sandwich filling. Spray this top layer of finely chopped breadcrumbs with water or flavour-compatible liquid until moist. Remove the square mould. Cover the sandwich with wrap and refrigerate for at least 1 hour to allow the moisture to permeate through the finely chopped breadcrumbs. After the sandwich has been refrigerated, remove the wrap and divide the sandwich into halves or quarters prior to serving. The IDSI fork test and spoon tilt test are designed to check that the minced and moist IDSI Level 5 sandwich is moist, holds together, and that tongue force alone could be used to break the soft, small particles. These are important characteristics to reduce choking risk. The gap between the prongs of a standard dinner fork measures 4 millimeters. Use the IDSI fork test to make sure that the breadcrumbs and sandwich filling pieces are all less than 4 millimeters. Then use the fork to press the sandwich to be sure the filling squashes easily. Use the IDSI spoon tilt test to make sure a spoonful of the minced and moist sandwich can be scooped up and holds together on the spoon. Then tilt the spoon to see that it falls off easily or with a gentle flick of the wrist. With a successful spoon tilt test, there should be very little food left on the spoon. Although you won't be able to pick this sandwich up with your fingers, and it will be easiest to eat it using a fork or a spoon, it still looks and tastes like a sandwich.
Minced diet and bread. It's a very important topic. So, no regular dry bread because of its high choking risk. A minced diet does not
We know
include
that bread
whole bread
provides much
products,
needed nutrition
even without
and
their
is something that
crust.
people the world
At our
over enjoy
center, a
eating.
bread
Although
allowed
we think of bread as
designation may be
soft,
added to a
it
minced
takes a lot of
diet,
chewing
diet
actions,
order
tongue
if it
and
has
jaw
been
movement
determined that the
to break
residents
it
may
down and
safely
make it
eat bread.
safe
So
to swallow.
always check with your dietitian at your center. The next level is level 4. Pureed food may be used if the resident is not able to bite or chew food, or if the tongue control is reduced. Pureed foods only need the tongue to be able to move forward and backward to bring the food to the back of the mouth for swallowing. It's important that pureed foods are not too sticky because this can cause food to stick to the cheeks, teeth, roof of the mouth, or in the throat. And pureed foods are best eaten using a spoon. So let's look at this level. At this level, we are looking at foods that are typically eaten with a spoon and do not require any chewing. They have a smooth texture with no lumps, allowing them to hold their shape on a spoon. When tilted, these foods should fall off the spoon in a single spoonful, demonstrating their smooth consistency. It's important to note that level 4 foods are not sticky, and there should be no separation of liquids such as sausages from solids within the puree. So level 4 offers a convenient and easily manageable option for individuals who have difficulty chewing, and it makes sure that they can still enjoy a nutritious and delicious meal with ease. And again, examples, you're probably familiar with this level. Pureed is the most mechanically altered food option. They are pureed until completely smooth. No chunks is allowed in this. Some foods like pudding and applesauce are naturally at this texture. And if you press a fork into a pureed food, the food should squish between the tines and form peaks, similarly to how the easy to chew foods look like after being squished. And again, for safety reasons, we are avoiding these foods. basically anything that is not soft, smooth, anything with lumps. This table gives a good comprehensive list of foods to avoid. Hard, soft, stringy, all of those should be avoided. Um, it should be noted that bread is not recommended on this ITSE's texture modified diets because bread is a very common item that causes choking or airway blockage. So that's why we are very careful with it. In general, bread can be assessed for safety by the swallowing specialist. That can be your speech language pathologist or your dietitian to provide bread texture modified diets based on the comprehensive dysphagia evaluation. Sometimes bread may be provided to meet a person's preferences and wishes according to their goals of care or within a person centered care approach, and this must be documented. Excuse me. Similar to this, mixed consistencies such as dry cereal and milk are also not recommended on the ITSE's texture modified diets. The liquid portion of these items can be aspirated while someone is trying to chew the solid portion. So they all have to be assessed by the dietitian. Uh, a quick note on mixed textures. This refers to situations where residents may require a mix of two textures in their meals. For instance, they may primarily consume cut up or easy to chew foods, but need minced meat or salad specified due to the difficulty of chewing these items in their original state. Commonly, meats and salads pose challenges in their regular form, promoting the need for mincing. While residents might manage other foods whole, these particular items may require modification to ensure safe consumption. If the diet order indicates no mixed textures, that's a different story. It's essential to avoid serving mixed texture foods which contain both liquid and solid components. So these can present risk as the liquid may slip down the throat while the resident is chewing the solid portion still. And potentially that can lead to choking or aspiration. So if a resident is not to have mixed texture, it's advisable to provide these foods in a pureed form instead of whole. For instance, serving pureed soup instead of whole soup or hot cereal instead of cold cereal. That helps for a safer eating experience for the residents. So let's dive into the connection between level 4, extremely thick drinks, and level 4, pureed foods. These two levels they share similar properties, descriptions, and testing methods, aligning them closely with the dietary pyramid. So, level 4 extremely thick drinks possess distinct characteristics. They are typically consumed with a spoon, cannot be drunk from a cup or sucked through a straw. Similar to level 4 pureed foods, they do not require chewing and exhibit smooth texture without lumps. These drinks hold their shape on a spoon and fall off in a single spoonful when tilted. It's crucial that they are not sticky to prevent them sticking to the cheeks, teeth, roof of the mouth, or throat. And these drinks serve a specific purpose when tongue control is inadequate to manage less thick consistencies. They offer more time for the tongue to manipulate the liquid, ensuring safer swallowing. To maintain accuracy, it's essential that they are smooth, moist, and free of lumps. And ultimately, both of these levels prioritize safety and ease of consumption for the resident. So let's explore about the testing of level 4. Um, Puree texture testing for level 4 involves employing the ITSE fork drip test and the ITSE spoon tilt test to ensure the safety and consistency of that. So here in this video, you can see Like the first one fell off easily, the second one was slightly too sticky. So the spoon tilt test is, let me, the spoon tilt test, um, the ITSE spoon tilt test is conducted to assess the texture's adherence to the spoon. A sample of the pureed food should hold its shape on the spoon but fall off easily when tilted or lightly flicked. It's crucial that the sample is not firm or sticky to prevent choking. So let's delve into level three. Liquidized food exhibit a smooth texture without any discernible bits such as lumps, fibers, husk, or particles of crystals or bones. This consistency allows it to be consumed either with a spoon or drunk from a cup, providing flexibility in serving methods. They may need some effort to drink them through a wide diameter straw. And if that's not an option, just stick with the cup. Similar to moderately thick liquids or fluids, liquidized food are suitable for residents experiencing difficulty in tongue movement. The thicker consistency of level three food affords more time for the tongue to manipulate the food, aiding in safe swallowing. And it's important to note that both moderately thick liquids and liquidized foods share the same level in the ITSE framework, as they possess identical thickness, swallowing properties, and testing methods. So, some examples here could be soups, cream of wheat, gravies, which can easily be consumed with a spoon or cup. Then we have excuse me, level three, moderately thick drinks may be used if the tongue control is not good enough to manage mildly thick or slightly thick or thin drinks. Moderately thick drinks allows more time for the tongue to hold and move the drinks. These drinks are best taken from a cup or using a spoon. As I talk about these different textures, you just try to remember what you saw in the video and how the swallowing process works and what could go wrong. And that's why we are modifying these textures to make it easier and safer for our residents. So, level two, our next level, mildly thick liquids are defined by their sippable consistency, pouring quickly from a spoon but at a slower pace compared to thin drinks and slightly thick drinks. While they still require some efforts to drink through a standard straw, they offer a manageable thickness for safe swallowing. These liquids serve as an alternative when thin drinks such as water or milk and level one slightly thick liquids flow too quickly for residents. Again, think about the video that we watched together. And examples could include some certain milkshakes, not all of them, thick shakes, although some beverages may require thickener to achieve the desired consistency of this level. Whether preparing homemade drinks or purchasing pre thickened liquids, which we just started doing in our facility at the vineyards, it's essential to conduct a ITSE flow test to confirm the thickness level accurately. This test ensures that the liquid meets the designated level of thickness for safe consumption. Also, the flow test that we will look at deeper in more detail. The flow test can be applied to supplements or liquid medications, ensuring consistency in texture and reducing the risk of aspiration during consumption. By complying to the proper testing methods and guidelines, we can provide the residents with liquids that are safe. Then we have level one, slightly thick drinks are thicker than water, yet still thin enough to flow through a straw. They are commonly used when individuals experience swallowing difficulties with thin, regular liquids, providing a safer alternative. They serve as a thicker option compared to water, milk, tea, coffee, juice, and other thin beverages. Uh, Pay attention that some drinks may naturally possess a slightly thick consistency, such as certain fruit nectars, not all of them, or a specific variety of nutritional supplements, and some baby formulas. Others may require thickening to reach the desired levels. And then level zero, thin liquids resemble the consistency of water, flow easily, similar to water. They are commonly used when individuals do not experience swallowing problems with liquids, providing a standard option for hydration and beverage consumption. So, examples you're familiar with these: water, milk, tea, coffee, juice, and they are very important because they contribute to the hydration. Thin liquids can be consumed through a variety of methods, including through a straw or standard cup. And this is great because it gives the resident a lot of options.
ITSE chose a gravity flow test using a 10 ml syringe as
Apologies, there was something wrong in the video, but let's watch the video about how ITSE tests for these different levels.
ITSE chose a gravity flow test using a 10 ml syringe as a simple, easy to use, and objective measure to classify drinks based on their rate of flow through a syringe in 10 seconds. Here we see the flow test with ITSE slightly thick, level 1, through moderately thick, level 3. The ITSE level is determined by the volume remaining in the syringe after 10 seconds. Observe that there is less liquid remaining on the left for slightly thick and mildly thick liquids, indicating that the liquid flowed through quicker and is thinner than moderately thick. Thin liquid flows through the syringe in about 7 seconds. ITSE chose a gravity flow test using a 10 ml
I
syringe
hope
as a
that
simple,
was
easy
helpful
to
and
use,
clear in
and
how
objective measure
we
to
measure
classify
the
drinks
thickness of
based
liquid.
on their.
But I wanted to share this with you because a lot of facilities in Canada use the older model. So let's break down the familiar terms into the corresponding ITSE standardization. So nectar thick equivalent is to number two or level two, mildly thick. This consistency is like nectar thickness. Mildly thick liquids pour easily through a slower and at a slower rate than regular fluids. They resemble the flow of syrup. Level three, moderately thick. Here you may have heard honey thick equivalent. It's comparable to the thickness of honey. Moderately thick liquids have a similar viscosity and flow rate. When stirred with a fork and allowed to drip through the tines, they form globs or trail slowly. And then level four, extremely thick or pudding thick. This level of thickness mirrors the consistency of pudding. Extremely thick fluids have been thickened to the point where they hold their shape on a fork and do not flow or drip at all. They can be fed to a resident on a spoon without any dripping. Again, these are not different thickness. I'm just trying to show like what the equivalent, it's the equivalent of these in the familiar terms that a lot of care homes might be still using. And then we are going to watch a video to learn how to thicken our liquids. I believe in our center we use the Nestle product, so make sure to check the labels. And if you're using a different product, this video may not apply to you. But thicken up is what we use, and it's so that's what this video is focusing on. May often encounter situations where we need to modify the consistency of liquid to better suit the needs of our residents. Whether it's your station or your table, it can be For any and all of you, recognition is very, very important to the fact that we're sharing separated lives. And the consistency the same throughout the entire experience. So, put that aside. Distraction. make their thick, you may have to use these techniques and these steps to thicken their nutritional supplement, whether it's resource or boost or any of that. And again, to make sure that you discuss that with the dietitian at your center. So we are not done with the training yet, but I'm going to end this video because it's getting long and the size of the file is getting